What's up, guys? Welcome to my tutorial in basic web security. In this tutorial I'm going to continue on the content of on SQL injection, and instead of using SQL injection in the URL in the browser, I'm going to use a program called SQL map. And as you can see, I booted up my Linux machine. I run a distribution called Kali Linux, which is based on Debian, and it's really a nice distribution because it got all these nice penetration testing tools, which is awesome. And also, I'm not distributing the web page from the same machine that I'm on currently, so as you can see, I'm running a server on my local network, so I won't be able to show the actual code because it's not on the same machine. But anyway, let's get started. Before you start, you should, if you're following along with the tutorial, you should cd into this directory, and then you should make sure that this directory is empty. So, because these are old log files before previous runs, you won't know if they successful in your coding because they're using old log files. But anyway, that'll be clear later on. So clear out this directory, and yeah, well, like, what am I doing wrong? In the current directory, remove everything. Yeah, there we go. So it should be empty, and I suggest you take a look at the man page for the SQL map program and have a look at the synopsis here. How to use it, and also the different flags that are available. I will use the most basic flags, so but I suggest you just at least browse through them so you have a clear understanding what it's about. So first off, I want to use SQL injection on the page that has the ID variable, so that is the display page. So I'll just take this URL right here, and actually the code hasn't changed anything at all. It's the exact same code as in the previous tutorial. And then I use SQL map, and then I use the U flag for URL, and then I paste my URL. And I want to check the display.php, and also I have to include the ID variable, the get variable here. And the value doesn't really matter. You can just put whatever there. And then I use dash 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 DBS for databases, so I'll see what databases are on the server. And the first question is if I want to redirect, because if you remember on the display page, I do a redirect if the session variable is not set, and I don't want to do that. I want to stay on that page. So no to that. And then it asks me if I want to check for other DBMSs than MySQL, because it's not really sure that it's MySQL, but I know it's MySQL, so I put no. And yeah, well, just put no on this one as well. You can read through the messages by yourself. I don't want to waste time explaining them, so it's all there anyways. So then it'll run some tests, and as you can see, you kind of like figure out the version of MySQL and stuff, and then defines the parameter ID, which is vulnerable, and then it asks me if I want to keep testing for others, and at this point I'm going to say no. You can keep on testing if you're unsure whether there are other variables. And as you can see, I get the results of all the databases on my server. And this is our database, obviously, and this is the information schema of the server. And the other ones here are databases for other projects I'm doing. So what we want to do now is we want to check the different tables in the database because we got the database name right. So instead of DBS, we want to check the table. So dash dash tables, and a dash D for database, and it's case sensitive, so you gotta be it's gotta be uppercase there. And then it asks me if I want to redirect. It's gonna keep asking me this, so I'll just say no to it every time. And as you can see, I get the results here with all the tables in the databases, which I only got two tables: it's the user and the guest book. So at this point, I probably want to check the user table for what columns exist. So it's the same command, and I use columns instead of tables, and I have to specify what table. So I do that by a dash and then a big T and then the table name, which is user, and then I should get the columns in that table, which is its ID, password, and username, and then the types of them as well, which is pretty awesome, I would say. And so at this point, well, this is obviously user table, so I got passwords and usernames and stuff. So I want to check out the values of these, of course. So I'm gonna do a dump on that. I'm gonna dump that data, and I use that, and I do that by using the dump command --dump. So if I run this again, I'll get all the data from that table. And at this point there really is, if you remember from the previous tutorial, I only have one user. And as I explained in the previous tutorial, this is also why you shouldn't save your passwords in plain text in the database, because at this point I'm just be able to like grab them and use them straight off. So that's pretty interesting, and as you can see, I ended up with the same results as I did the previous time, but way faster. And I mean, it's more easy. I just have to use like the proper flags and stuff. So it's SQL Map is a really great tool as well. So I really recommend using it. But anyway, in order to protect ourselves on this, we've got to use the prepared statements, and the procedure is exactly the same as with the previous tutorial. So I'm not going to go through that. I'm just going to uncomment the lines on my server here at the side. You're not able to see that, but you just have to trust me that I'm doing it. So I'm going to uncomment then, and then I'm going to comment out the old code, which is unsafe. So and then I save it, and now the database should be safe, right? But the thing is, if I run this command again, even though I have changed it, you see I still get the results. And the reason for that is, as I explained before, with the log files. And you can read it here as well. This I got a bit confused the first time this happened. And it's using an old log. So what I got to do is I got to cd into this directory, and I got to remove the log files. So it's empty. And if I run it again, I shouldn't be able to get to the results. And as you can see, it keeps on working, and you get some information about the MySQL version, I guess. Or it doesn't really. No, it doesn't. And yeah, the parameter ID is not injectable, so that's sweet. This is what we want. So, and at this point I also feel obliged to tell you that the MySQL real escape string function in PHP doesn't really escape all SQL, and but this is a rather heavy topic, and I suggest you read up on it, or just take my word for it and use the prepared statements as, instead, because I mean, if you use like MySQL real escape, you just have to miss it once, because you only need one parameter to be vulnerable to the SQL injection, and you have to check for other things as well. So in the end, it's not worth it. Just use the prepared statements, and you should be fine. Yep, so that's pretty much it, and thank you guys for watching. I hope you enjoyed it, and I'll see you in the next tutorial.